Hey everybody, my name is Felicia Giouzelis from FeliciaMarieG.com. I wanted to talk to you today about something really interesting that happened recently, and the reason I'm sharing it with you is because I think it's relevant to what we're all learning in the universe right now. We always have different spiritual lessons that are coming up individually in our lives, but also collectively throughout the universe, right? These are things that all of us are actually dealing with and learning at this time. And I think this is one of those situations where, yeah, something that I went through recently is something that most of us, if not all of us, are currently going through. So I'm going to start off just by telling you the actual situation that happened. So I was sitting with someone just eating lunch, and he looks at me and he goes, I love your guidance on something. Now, when somebody says that to me, I evaluate whether this person is a friend or not, or whether I consider this person a friend, and the history of, what we have going on, right? Because being spiritual is a part of my life. It's the whole web of my life. Everything revolves around spirituality for me. But giving guidance for me is my job, right? So this is where we have to, especially if you're a healer or you own like spirit-based business or you're a heart-centered entrepreneur or whatever, any kind of business that you're in, right? It's like, there are times that you will, for a friend, help out a friend or a family member, etc., and it's totally appropriate and you feel good about it and you're happy to give back. There are other times that we give back in our businesses consciously when we feel guided to. And there are times when we could be taken advantage of. And this story is about being taken advantage of, as you can probably imagine by me starting this off that way. So I want to just go into a little bit about what happened without divulging too many details about who this is. But he basically looked at me and he said, I love your guidance on something. Now, I'm an energy worker, right? I can read energy. So I knew right away that it was like he wanted my intuitive insight, right? Because why would somebody say, even without me reading energy, why would somebody say, I want your guidance on something? It's just not something that a friend would say, right? Or they'd say it differently. So I said, okay, go ahead. So he started to tell me the situation and ask me a couple questions. And I immediately, this is what I do for a living, right? I immediately received the information of what to share with him. And I went ahead and I did that freely. And I said, there's a couple different paths you can go. I feel like if you go this way, this is what's going to happen. If you go this way, this is what's going to happen. And I said, the one that has the most energy behind it is this one. Now, when I say something like that, the most energy, it means it's the brightest. So I work in the Akashic Records. So when I see something energy-wise, it looks very bright to me. And it's usually the way that the person, it's the highest alignment path for the person to go on. The records are going to recommend going on a certain path because it's going to be most beneficial for the soul growth, right? So that's what I shared with him. Now, what happened next was what really, I wouldn't say it triggered me, but it triggered my boundaries. So I had to stop after this thing was said to me. I'll share with you what I did, but basically what he said to me was, and I'm paraphrasing, what he said to me was, okay, well, I'd like to share my opinion with you because it may shift your perception. And when that happened, I went, what? No. And I stopped him immediately with my hand up. And I said, this is not my perception. This is my intuition, and it's not up for negotiation. So what he did in that moment was he really triggered my boundaries. So I think we're all sort of dealing with something like this right now. You may even have somebody like writing to you and asking you to do something for free. That's not okay. That's not okay. If you have a certain relationship with the person and maybe you've bounced things off of each other before, or you've bartered or traded before, then it makes sense, right? I mean, it's not like coming out of the blue. But this is someone for me that has charged me for things that he has done for me, that we have not had that type of relationship before, but he doesn't see value in my work. And so it was easy for him to just dismiss my intuition, even though he asked for it, right? So I think right now the universe is really going, listen, we're going to send you lots of people that are going to help you decide how you want to respond. Now, in my case, I still responded very kindly. I would say maybe the only thing that was kind of abrupt was me going, but he was continuing to talk. And so I just went, right? That was the way that I approached it, so I could get my words together before I actually physically responded to him with words, right? Maybe that's a coin toss on whether that was kind or unkind, right? But I think what we're being asked to do right now is really figure out who we want in our lives. How are they contributing to our lives? How are we contributing to their lives, right? Is it equal? That's what we're being asked right now. Like, is our partnership with so-and-so on equal footing? Are we receiving and even allowing ourselves to receive, right? Like if somebody pays you a compliment, are you taking that compliment in, or are you going, no, right? We're being asked right now to look at all of that. So when this came up for me, it really called my attention to the fact that I do have strong boundaries with things like that. With him, I was able to put a stop to it. I'm a little bit lax in other boundaries with current clients and things like that. I'm a little bit lax with that, but I'm strengthening that as we speak, right? So it's not about being unkind. It's about just letting people know, like, listen, these are my boundaries. These are my terms. And when somebody crosses them, letting them know kindly that that's what they did, and restating what your boundary is. Again, you can do this with complete kindness. That's how I did it. I said, listen, this is not my opinion. You asked for my intuition, and I gave it to you. And that's not up for negotiation. And I think this person learned from that thing. Maybe he learned one of two things. I don't want to ask her guidance anymore. Well, I guess maybe that's the only thing he could have learned from it. Maybe there's something else I'm missing. But for me, it was just really this moment of, boy, are you serious? Right? Like I had this ego moment pop up where fortunately I was able to kind of stop myself but go, come on, man. Like you just asked for my guidance, not my opinion. If he asked for Felicia's opinion, it might have been different than guidance, right? So this is really about boundaries. So I just wanted to share kind of what happened with me and see if it would be helpful for you with setting things up with people in your life, because I think even the sense I get is like over the next month or two, we're going to be dealing with things like this. But listen, these are going to repeat throughout our lifetime. Okay. Every time you grow or up level in your life or business, every time you are going to start doing something new, every time you're going to enter a new type of relationship, or you set a new intention, or you decide you want something bigger for your life, things are going to come up. You don't just get to learn this lesson, like this is the lesson for now, and it's appropriate for where you are in your life right now. But if you decide you want to start going up, guess what? There's a whole new set of lessons there for you to learn. So it's not about avoiding lessons. It's about showing up for the lessons. Did this kind of make me go, hold the phone when it happened? Yeah, it did. But at the same time, I realized that I was really quite good at going, that's what I received intuitively, and it's not up for negotiation, because it's not. I heard clearly what to communicate to this person, and I did that. My job done. What I learned from the situation as well was really think twice about who I share information with. Because even if somebody asks, it doesn't always mean that they're ready to hear what I have to say. And sometimes they're just in a mood to reject. And it was funny because right after this, he goes, well, I am a skeptic. And that right there closed the door for me. I kind of went, I'm not your teacher. And there is somebody that intuitively will be able to probably read for him someday. But just the amount of resistance that I encountered and how frustrating it was for me, I wouldn't walk into a situation like that again with him or anybody that resembles that type of energy. So I think it's really about knowing your own self, your own boundaries, who you feel comfortable sharing information with. Because like I said, sometimes people ask, but they're not actually really ready for the information. So you have to know yourself really well, your own energy, see how it feels to you before you just jump out and give information to people. And something I learned very early in my path was when I was connected intuitively, I was always like, wow, I want to tell this person this and that and share all this information. And I always got doors slammed in my face when I did that. People, super resistance coming up. What I changed on doing that, and this was 2.5 years ago when I first started this work, but I just stopped sharing information with people. And it wasn't that I was not giving back. I was giving back to people that were receptive to it. So people that were in my network, on my newsletter, on my Facebook page, etc., or people that asked me. People that ask are usually receptive, except for in this case that I encountered, which he was simultaneously telling me that he was a skeptic, but also asking for guidance. It's like, what's going on here? Right? So that's still, the skepticism was overriding the wanting to receive the intuitive information, which is fine. But when it gets to a point where somebody's saying that they want to change your perception, I don't need my perception changed. I like my perception. And if I decide that I'm going to change my perception one day, I will do that. I don't need somebody to tell me something to change my perception. And so what did he encounter from me? A wall of resistance, because I don't want somebody that's asking me for intuitive guidance, but then telling me that they're a skeptic and they don't believe and XYZ. You know, so this was a boundary for me of going, okay, universe, I'm ready to be surrounded by friends that may not necessarily believe in what I do, although I prefer friends that do believe, at least in spirituality, and are open-minded, but I'm not surrounded by people that are creating resistance in me, introducing resistance into my life, etc., right? So we always have an opportunity to bring new intentions into the fold. And like I said, we can't avoid our soul lessons. There was something for me to learn from this, and I'm grateful for the opportunity. It let me sort of get my boundaries in check and get things situated in my life and see what kind of people I want in my life and get really, really strong with that vision so that I can bring the right people into my life and I could be open to receiving them from my heart. So I hope that helped you. I just, you know, this is our first video of this series we're going to be doing every Wednesday. I'm going to talk about a different spiritual topic and how you can handle it. So I super hope you enjoyed it. And if you haven't already, please like the video, subscribe, comment. I will respond to as many comments as I possibly can. And we have a link below so you can join my free Facebook group. And you'll also get a free video on the Akashic Records, what they are, what they can do for you, how you can work with them, etc. It's absolutely free and it's so much fun. I filmed it when I was in Hawaii and I know you'll absolutely love it. So I hope to see you on my networks and I will talk to you soon. Bye.